Let's begin with the Navy's 1946 fiscal year budget. Approved at $29.1 billion, that number would be slashed by Congress to $16.7 billion. Now that the war was over, President Truman wanted to slash the military budget as much as possible to bring America back into peacetime numbers. Although their budget was slashed to less than 60% of what it used to be, the Navy was able to save money by canceling projects and setting up a fund of wartime surplus that would save around $2 billion for use later. This money would be crucial for survival during these next 5 years. 1946, the first full year of peace after World War II. Around the world, the civil war in China between the nationalists and the communists continues. The civil war in Greece continues. The USSR refuses to withdraw its forces from Iran. In March, Churchill gives his famous speech, "An Iron Curtain has descended across the continent."
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. And there is nothing for which they have less respect than for weakness, especially military weakness.
On the home front, President Truman tries to restore the country after the war. He redirects as much finances from the military as possible and directs it at the economy. The U.S. Navy is focused on several things this year: demobilization of its wartime personnel, decommissioning most of its ships and establishing the mothball fleet, Operation Magic Carpet and the transportation of men back home, patrol of Japanese waters, support of nationalist Chinese in the Chinese Civil War, Arctic operations, and Operation Crossroads and the Bikini bomb trials. Along with drawing down the Navy to a peacetime fleet, the Navy was focused on unification of the military branches. Heading towards the formation of the Department of Defense, the Navy has conflict with the other services over unification. On March 1st, Operation Frostbite gets underway, where the USS Midway and 3 destroyers test to see if the Navy's carriers could effectively operate in Arctic waters. A meeting in Key West between the heads of the Army Air Corps, and Navy gets nowhere as tensions between the branches increases. On April 5th, after the death of the Turkish ambassador to America, Mehmet Erdogan, the USS Missouri pulls into Istanbul Harbor to deliver his remains, in the biggest use of American gunboat diplomacy since the Great White Fleet. This famous battleship then displays the U.S. flag around the Mediterranean, specifically Greece, to communicate to the Soviet Union that the United States is concerned about the former's overreach into these areas. In June and July, Operation Crossroads is finally ready and it begins testing atomic weapons and their effects on ships. The 10th episode of this series will go deeper on this famous operation. On July 21st, the first landing of a pure jet on board an aircraft carrier was accomplished by the FH-1 Phantom. October sees the completion of the demobilization of naval personnel along with the ending of Operation Magic Carpet. Even though the demobilization of personnel has gone according to plan, the decommissioning of ships has fallen far behind. Due to the fast withdrawal of sailors, ships have been sitting at shore facilities by the thousands waiting for decommissioning, with very few to provide the process. The Navy predicts it might take another 2 or more years to finish decommissioning ships and setting up the mothball fleet. The 5th episode of the Navy post-war series will highlight the mothball fleet. The end of 1946 sees the wrap-up of naval patrols of the Japanese waters. With the stabilization of Japan and the finishing of minesweeping of the Japanese coast, the ships around Japan are either decommissioned or reassigned. Click here for the next episode of the series. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button. This is U.S. military history.